The 805 Focus is brought to you in part by Nonprofit Connect. Nonprofit Connect provides superior leadership tools and resources so nonprofit leaders and board members can make valuable decisions to move their organization forward to a sustainable and vibrant future. More information on services online at nonprofitconnect.org.
Welcome to 805 Focus. I'm Dr. Cinder Sinclair with Nonprofit Connect, and we will be bringing you the latest on your favorite nonprofits, so get ready to be inspired. Our special guest today is Bob Fidamonte, and Bob is with SCORE. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Cinder. As usual, it's a pleasure to see you and be on your show.
Oh, thank you. Aren't you sweet? So, SCORE, I know it's an acronym, and I know such wonderful things that you folks do, and I want to hear all about that. First, can you tell me what that acronym means?
Well, I'll give you a little history. It was founded in 1964.
Oh.
And at that time, it meant Service Corps of Retired Executives.
Oh,
So
okay.
we've been in Santa Barbara since roughly 1978 or so. And we've evolved quite a bit. So right now, over half of our members and half of our mentors and volunteers are actually still employed. So SCORE is an affiliate or a resource for the Small Business Administration. So we have a separate entity, we have our own foundation, and we get some financing from the SBA, the Small Business Administration.
I get it.
And our mission is to help small business. And that mission is both to help people on a one-on-one basis through mentoring, as well as through a whole plethora of workshops, tools, and things of that sort that are totally free. They all reside on our website, which I'm sure you'll put up. But if you go to score.org as well, you'll see just an immense number of templates, explanatory articles, business plan templates, things that help somebody who's thinking of really creating a business to take all the steps that are necessary for it. Taking it from conception of a business to creating what the product will be, who will buy it, things of that sort. So SCORE is a national organization. Our chapter is the Santa Barbara chapter.
Okay, gotcha.
And we have about, right now in the national chain, we have 300 chapters with about 10,000 volunteers.
Wow.
And our particular chapter here in Santa Barbara, we have between 30 and 35 volunteers at any point in time. And the reason that moves around is A, it's volunteers.
Yeah.
B, people take vacations, etc. And actually, to volunteer in SCORE, it's really a marvelous organization. But SCORE, you can volunteer in many, many different ways. One is you can be a mentor, or you can be a subject matter expert, or a presenter for putting on workshops. So there are many ways, and even administratively, we have people who volunteer, for example, help us in social media. So SCORE is an organization that's designed to help entrepreneurs or anybody who's in business.
Yeah.
So it's small business, and small business is any business under 500 employees.
Mm-hmm.
So we have thousands and thousands of clients around the country, et cetera. And so our mission is really to empower people through information and through actual one-on-one conversations. And in the past, we've had offices that we did that at, or we would do it in various coffee shops was one of our favorites. But also Zoom has very much come into our life.
Of course.
And so we put on webinars. If you go to our website, you'll see a calendar there of events that are put on throughout the month. And so whether you're trying to figure out how do I do social media, how do I measure my business success? What about my legal structure? How should I be? Should I file for an EIN? And these are all technical things that really are part of moving from an entrepreneur to being a business person. Because a business person has to think of all of the aspects of a business.
Right.
And I like to think of businesses or any operation as having three basic pieces, or four basic pieces when I throw on leadership. But you basically have a product or service. Secondly, you've got to market it, so you got to know how you're going to market and sell it, or who's your audience, etc. Then you have to administer it. And that's where people get really crazy. How do I keep my books? How do I file my tax returns? How do I prevent myself from getting sued? And then lastly, leadership. Now, some people say, well, what do you mean by leadership? Well, if you have more than one person working for you, you're a leader. You're creating vision, you're creating activities, you're creating all of the things that have to go into a business. And if you go to raise money, you have to be able to tell the story.
Yeah.
And so we help people construct stories. We help them apply for loans, for example. We work very closely with a number of banks here in Santa Barbara. Montecito Bank and Trust, American Riviera, et cetera, a number of different banks. And they really want us to help them help their customers. And so that's what we do. And so I would say that, again, anybody could sign up for mentorship. And it's a very, very simple process. In fact, let me tell you what people do.
Okay.
So let's assume you're starting a business called 805 Connect.
Okay.
So you say, I need a mentor. So what you would do is you go to our website and you'd say, I need a mentor. And they would ask you to put in, what are you looking for? You might say, I need a business plan. So let's assume you say, I need a business plan. So somebody from SCORE will call you, usually on the intake, what we call our intake counselor, and would call you and say, so Cinder, tell me a little bit more about your business. And so that exploratory conversation, if you're saying, well, we're a nonprofit, we want to open a restaurant, I'll get really crazy. Oh, right. Well, good, we'll have that conversation. I'll say, have you run a restaurant before? And so those questions are really so that I can understand more deeply what you need. Then I look to match you with one of our mentors with that specific expertise or industry background. So we have somebody who's never heard of a nonprofit owning a restaurant, which is totally fine.
Yep.
You can have you just got to watch percentages, that's a tax issue. But at the end of the day, we probe, and then we'll assign a mentor to you, and he or she will reach out to you and say, well, let's talk further. Because when people call for mentorship, they're actually on the cusp of struggling with something. Actually, I want to take a little sidebar thing about do-it-yourselfers.
Oh.
Okay, in today's day and age,
Yeah.
everybody says, well, I can just Google it and figure it out. Well, that ain't so. You can get into a lot of trouble with do-it-yourself. And for example, taking your example, you'll say, I'm going to really create a website. And we already filed for a new LLC, and we paid somebody to file for it, and we paid somebody to do a website. And we'd say, well, who's your customer? Why would somebody go to your restaurant? What's the hook for them? And if you haven't figured that out, you now have spent money for a website without knowing what your marketing was.
Oh, gosh.
Without knowing that, by the way, once you filed an LLC, you now have to pay taxes on that, even if you don't make any money. So there are many, many pieces to running a business, but I saw it in Google. They said, just start, get an LLC. Somebody will always sell you whatever you ask for. What you get from a mentor is somebody who's been in business in one shape or form. We have people who have been in consulting, people who have been accountants, people who have run retail stores. We have people who ran some of the retail outlets on the end of Stearns Wharf. So people who've been in business, so they've been there and done that. And they'll ask you questions that'll get deeper into what your true challenge is. And then everything you say to us will be totally confidential. It's totally free. And any mentor who works with you can never do a service for money from you. So you're getting objective advice. So if we're talking, I'm not going to suggest, hey, you need to get a new accounting system that I'm going to put in for you.
Yeah, right.
I might say, you know what, here's a couple of accounting systems, shop around, pick one out, and let's talk about it. So that will help you, as opposed to looking for the cheapest, which might not serve what your needs are.
Right.
So we try to pierce that quite a bit.
That is amazing. So kind of what I'm hearing is that if somebody's thinking of starting a business, entrepreneur, let's just say, or maybe somebody's already started the business, but they feel like, gosh, there's a lot of things here, I feel like I'm over my head, or there's some things I don't know that I need to learn, or wherever they are in that spectrum, they can call or contact you and you folks will be able, like maybe they do need help with the restaurant, or maybe they need help with their taxes. And so would you, let's just say somebody needed help with their restaurant. I don't know how to run a restaurant, and I don't know about the tax thing either. And by the way, how much insurance should I get? You know, all those things. So are you saying that you could have multiple mentors? Like maybe you have a mentor that knows about taxes, and you have another one that knows about restaurants.
That's a wonderful question. It's a wonderful insight. We actually, one of the strengths of our chapter basically is that we will bring in other mentors for specific skill sets.
Okay.
So for example, one of our subject matter experts is an attorney. Now I will tell you that SCORE does not provide legal or tax advice, but that doesn't mean we don't share information that helps empower you to start to make the decisions. Yeah. And then we might say, you know what, you're at that stage, you need to get an accountant who's qualified in this area.
Yes.
So whether it's intellectual property or whatever the case may be.
And here's some choices,
yes,
people to consider.
We actually normally keep a list of several people, and we'll always say get at least 3 individuals to talk to. And the reason being is when you talk to the first service provider, they'll say what they're going to provide, and they'll give you a fee or an estimate. And then when you speak to the next provider, potential provider, you'll have a frame of reference for the types of things to look for.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that we help out especially with is when people look to hire a consultant or an accountant or a lawyer or whatever the case may be, we actually help them sometimes in that selection process. Did you ask this question?
Oh, so that's good.
Managing consultants is a very, very important thing because people will give you what they have to sell as opposed to what you might need.
Yeah.
And if you ask the wrong questions, they'll give you they'll answer you whatever you'd like. But again, we create this frame of reference. I'll give you a recent example. It happened just yesterday. Somebody who has a practice, it's a holistic healthcare practice, and she happened to, I said, well, show me your legal form, et cetera, and she was an LLC, and I said, do you have insurances, et cetera, and she said, yeah, and she showed me the policy. And I said, well, let me look at the policy. And all she had was the summary page, and she hadn't received the policy yet. Oh. And I said, well, a lot of your equipment is very expensive, and what makes you think it's covered under this policy? So it was like she thought she was covered, and now she'll explore that further with her broker, et cetera. Yeah. But the end that she wouldn't know to look for that.
Yeah.
And she had acquired some equipment on very inexpensively, relatively speaking. But unless she had replacement cost as the basis of her, if it was stolen, they would only give her a recorded cost, which was far below the replacement cost. So that was something like, oh, I never thought of that. So that's the type of finite expertise that we bring to the situation.
That is great. So how do you find mentors, people who want to help?
Well, I want to recruit them through this show. How do you?
Oh, right. I like it.
So volunteering with SCORE is incredibly rewarding. I've been doing it over 10 years.
Oh,
I started when I was 10 years old. I'm now 20 years old. But it's so rewarding, and for a number of different reasons. Personally, I love to learn. I'm incredibly curious about everything, and I want to learn. So that's. But also, there's a part of me that I love connecting and helping people. And fortunately, in my career, I've been a CPA. I've been the CFO of a couple of very large companies, the president of a couple of companies. I've had retail businesses. So I've done a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And it allows me to take some of those experiences and really provide from the many mistakes I made, each one of those. The one mistake I made.
The one mistake, maybe one.
But taking those mistakes, and what about this and what about that, it allows us to ask confidential questions, and with the total knowing that I'm there to listen. And what I know my gift is I create spaciousness. I create a story. Oh, I see what you're doing, and I'll repeat back what they're doing. And I say, well, what about this and what about that? Because in my experiences, I know the pieces of a business and how they should communicate and coordinate and all the rest of that. And so those are important elements. So I can ask questions from that perspective. You said about who would call us. How about the pandemic?
Oh, golly.
In 2020, starting in March, we had an explosion of people who were in business who suddenly were out of business. If you were a restaurant, or in any shape or form. So we had hundreds of webinars, workshops, mentoring sessions around how to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, the EIDL, and a PPP. And it was hellacious, but here's what they needed. They needed a peaceful, calm voice on the other side.
Yeah.
And that's what we bring. We say, slow down. Okay, let's take a breath on this. And so, you know, since I'm not selling you anything, I'm there sincerely to help you. And so I'll say, well, and then I'll test, well, what do you think we should do? But I'd say, let's slow down, take a step. We'll figure this out. And we helped hundreds of entities in 20 and 21 to apply for PPP loan 1 and then 2 and then EIDLs, et cetera. And then how to reorganize your business. Myself and another colleague just helped one of our clients launch a gelato operation. Now, all of our clients are confidential, so I can't give you names, et cetera, so I can't advertise for them. But if there's a new gelato place in town, go to it. But it was about location. Mm-hmm. He had the guts to say, I want to open a business. And so, okay, we talked about, you know, in real estate, it's location.
Yeah.
But then how to negotiate the lease terms, because in today's day and age, or back then, you know, landlords were looking for anybody. So we helped couch that situation in such a way to help them negotiate all of the pieces and help them then project, well, what do you think you're going to make at this? And what are your costs of goods sold? So we take them through what we call the business model. Mm-hmm. Well, tell us, okay, so you're gonna buy X and you're gonna do something to it and you're gonna sell it for Y. And so, okay, let's talk about some of the other costs you have. Are you gonna do this by yourself or employees? Well, I was gonna have independent contractors. Well, no, you can't have independent contractors. No. So that becomes employees. Who are you gonna employ? And what are you gonna do with turnover? And what are you gonna create as systems so that people can walk in and so we ask all of these questions, not to overwhelm, but to basically say these are the things that have to be covered prior to opening. But that's not going to happen for 6 months. So why don't we agree over the next 6 months, you'll do this in month 1 and this in month 2. So we lay out a map for them to follow. And it creates immeasurable levels of calm, let me just say that. And we showed them the tools that were present on our website, and he created a business plan template. He took that for financing, so he was able to get a loan. And so all of the aspects, so we create calm, and we create a frame of reference that is a safe, sane one. And by the way, we worked even with UCSB, for example. We focused on the Latino Business Association there.
Oh, that's great.
And I put on some talks there about how to business network. Because as you know, everybody's trying to create a business now.
Yep.
Now this is where the DIY, the do-it-yourselfers, really can kill themselves.
Yeah.
You have people who when there was a business I talking to the other day, I was speaking to the other day, and I had them see that after they spent all that they spent and what their bottom line was, and I asked, well, how many hours have you been putting in? And after all of that, they realized they were making $5 an hour.
Oh, gosh.
And they were laying awake at night, saying, okay, let's step back. What can we do with this now? That doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's like, how can we fix it? And so there are pricing suggestions. There was drop this line, not that line, you know, hire some help at a lower level. And so you'll make a little bit less, you went out, but you'll put in a lot less time.
Yeah.
So you now have a life back. And life is about balance, and it's about fun. Business is fun. Business is about community.
You know how to make it fun. So now, Bob, we have a little over a minute left. And so what I wanted to just point out or remind people is that they can go on your website. They can find out how to be a mentor themselves, how much time is involved, what might they be able to contribute to that. They can find out how to be do you call them a client?
A client. We call
them
a mentee. It's a client.
A mentee, okay, a client. And they can make a financial donation because you're a 501c3, right?
That's right. Our foundation is always welcome, and we want to thank some of the banks who have helped us in the past. There's one more thing I would just add to that.
Sure.
And that is the tools that are there.
Oh, that's right, the tools. Yep.
They're all free. You don't even have to sign up. Just go there, and you can ask any question. I'm a startup, or I'm thinking about this. And there's frequently asked questions. There's a ton of stuff that you can end up buying. If you say, Google, I want to buy a business plan, somebody will sell you a business plan for $500, or you can get it for free on SCORE's website. And so we have some incredible things, and you can just go poke around. And lastly, we have tons of webinars that are recorded, and that on almost any topic. And lastly, we have a calendar on the very first page of our website, which have the events going off this month. So come on by.
Wow, that's a lot. Well, thank you for being with us today.
It was my pleasure, for sure, Cinder. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on 805 Focus, and we'll see you next time.